Okay, good afternoon everybody, and very welcome to this presentation that I'm going to be giving. The title is Perceptions of Chinese Temples Through Soundscape and Smellscape, a case study at Lam Lok Him. So my name is PerMagnus Lindborg, and the first author here is Lam Lok Him. We are a team from Hong Kong. Ryan is my research assistant for a project called Multimodal Hong Kong, where we are documenting a fairly large number of sites of cultural value in Hong Kong. And this is a case study at this temple. The other people are Yue and Yui Kang. A little background about Chinese temples. So, of course, there are many different kinds. In Hong Kong, there's a syncretic mix very often of the of temples. There is at least 300 registered large temples in Hong Kong, and there's a very great number of really small altars and informal places of worship. So they cater to, of course, the folk religions, and you have Confucianism, and you have Taoism and Buddhism. And in particular, we are focusing here on the WONG, which is mainly a Taoist worship place, but it also has aspects of Buddhism and Wang worship and some Confucian elements as well. It is one of the most significant temples. It is large, relatively speaking, so the whole compound is 80,000 square meters, 1.8 hectares. It says it was completed in 1921. It's actually started the construction started in the 1920s and continued at least until the late 1970s. One of the most well-known in Hong Kong, and has over time grown from being a very sort of local for the residents area to be a tourist destination. And along these many decades, with the tremendous growth in Hong Kong urban sprawl, the sort of city has grown around Wong Tai Sin, and notably with large roads and a residential complex and a big mall and metro station also in close proximity to the actual temple. So I should say that Ryan, his focus in this project is very much about policy and strategies for understanding how soundscape and also smellscape, how they are being addressed in Hong Kong legislation. When it comes to temples, there is a temples ordinance, as there is of course also a noise ordinance, not exactly soundscape ordinance, and there is some parts of legislation around controlling, should we say, the noise, air pollution, which touches upon smell pollution as well, as we have seen. Okay, so the typical sources of sounds at the Wong Tai Sin include things like music. Some of this is played live, but a lot of it is played over loudspeakers to sort of create this ambience, cultural ambience, we might say. It's Chinese instruments typically. Rituals, and of course incense burning, as we'll actually jump to this one to give you a little bit of a feeling of what this is like. So these are pictures from the left one is from the main prayer altar. The third picture is myself fidgeting with equipment. We are collecting lots of objective measurements, SPL, we do ISO sources and pleasantness and eventfulness ratings all over this area. and also 3D audio recordings and 360 video recordings, and that will be published in a different context. What we're focusing on here in this presentation is into what you can see in the right image, so that's street interviews with visitors of many different kinds. So we, between November and end of or beginning of February, now recently, over the winter, we made ad hoc interviews, 57 of them, during these field visits. They were conducted in Cantonese, many of them in English, in Mandarin Chinese, and also one in French. Ryan has also collected, or at least started to collect here, online comments, so that comes from some TripAdvisor and Google reviews of the site itself, so specifically looking for keywords that we are interested in: noise, calm, smoky, and fragrant. Okay, so what do we find here? This part of what we're reporting here is very qualitative research, qualitative results from these interviews. So we're focusing on soundscape, smellscape, and then how they link to the cultural and religious practices, as we can see. So pleasure from sound. So some of these people, the people we interviewed, they expressed a positive experience with the loudspeaker music and also the bells. So the bells are mainly played as part of the prayer activities. And one of the interviewees was speaking quite a lot about the bells. I think the sound of the bells makes me feel most comfortable and relaxed. One probed a little bit further, as it turned out, he was paying extra attention to the bells because actually this is a young man and he works as a guard at a prison. And in that context, there's also bells, but they have a very negative connotation for him, and they really stress him out. So he found that the bells at Wong were so much more positive. There's another comment there. You can hear some drums, some cool music, which is nice for the atmosphere. So I stress here that these are, of course, translations into English, mainly from other languages, Chinese and Cantonese mainly. The quote there below, I will read it. I think human voices and music can mix naturally. That's why this place feels special, because, like you said, the musical instruments and people's voices mix here. It creates a third sound. The first sound is the instrument. The second is people's voices. When combined, they create something new. It becomes a unique sound, something entirely different. So this was said by a young Korean tourist, and he's quite a creative person doing game design, so he had a lot of associations that he made from being in this particular environment and how we can sort of recreate this in virtual game-like environments. A noise from surrounding noises, well, there's also that. Look at the traffic flow, the cars. Just 1 minute, so many cars have passed by. Nowadays, there are more tourists and distractions, so it feels noisier and less solemn. It became more commercialized and not as pure as it used to be. This is said by a middle-aged local resident. Okay, how about smells? Well, the incense is very central and is, generally speaking, very positive, so often related to memories. Yes, that one. Yeah, I think that the incense will make me feel relaxed. Because when I was a kid, my grandparents liked to light up the joss sticks. And it's part of the spiritual experience. I think it evokes a certain feeling within you when you're smelling at the incense. Because it's so part of the experience, isn't it? It's not the spirituality of it, it's invoking a sort of sense of the feeling, and it's bringing in elements like fire. There's also, of course, environmental concerns with all this burning, and actually, Wong they have, in the past 5 to 10 years, they have placed a lot more restrictions on the kinds of joysticks that can be used, that can be sold at the compound, because not primarily for the visitors, but for the residents nearby, there have been concerns about the pollution from these joystick burning and also paper burning, which is part of specific religious festivities. Okay, so some health and environmental concerns, and these were highlighted by interviews with vendors of these. No, sorry, the first one is actually from a clairvoyant, so it's a fortune teller who is working at the, they have rows, 2 different levels. It must be at least 30 little stalls of fortune tellers. It's a very important part of the religious practices, so everyday lived religious practices. Okay, so this clairvoyant, he's saying about the health concerns. If you're exposed to it too much, you might worry about its impact on your health. Too much incense smoke might not be good. If the smoke is too strong, it is not ideal for the body. I'm also concerned that the incense might not be pure. Actually, this set us onto working with the idea that, well, there's a bit of competition going on between the different vendors around this site. So there's one group who are the official people selling joysticks, and then there's sort of the unofficial, mostly ladies near the metro station, and they try to grab the tourists and sell them sticks. So you can imagine that there's a lot of competition about whose joysticks are the best. We bring out the best prosperity and luck for the prayers. Okay, so that brings us into, of course, the cultural and religious practices. So it's a distinctively Chinese practice related to both sounds and smells here. What a tourist said here, Chinese tourist said, I actually like the music too. I don't really like the loud noise, but the music is very nice. The music is also very unique and beautiful. It's very Chinese. It's actually hard to describe. It's my first time experiencing this. It's all very new and amazing. I've never experienced anything like this before. But everything is so beautiful and new to me. So again, this is a mainland young Chinese tourist. Okay. The Wong Tai Sin is a recreational area in the middle of the city. So Kowloon is the most densely populated residential area on Earth by most metrics. And kind of in the middle of this, a little bit to the north, we have this temple ground. So it does become a bit of a small green area with some water features. So we have the green and the blue, of course. And it's an oasis of sacrality, where you can find peace, meditation, away from the traffic noise and crowds of the millions of people that populate Hong Kong. So, on the mixed religious identity, so this is said by ladies at the metro station selling, so I don't strictly follow any one faith, but I respect various beliefs like Buddhism and Taoism. For example, I'm not specifically devoted to Wong Tai Sin, but I respect his teachings. Wong Tai Sin is a Taoist deity, but the temple also incorporates aspects of Buddhism. But the temple has lost some of its original purities, the commercialization of everything. People choose to make it a business. Some places seem to have turned into business hubs, losing their pure religious atmosphere. So there's we have here in Malaga, me and my team were presenting around multimodal Hong Kong, 3 papers. So you're very welcome to come in here tomorrow morning. I'll be talking about sensory heritage. And then on Wednesday, again me, I'm afraid I'll be presenting Yura's piece where she compares to public parks and the foreign domestic helpers who come through these parks. So Welcome to that. And here's a QR code for our website. Thank you very much.
Questions to Mr.
Lam?
Well, we tried to do.
The funny thing is that Lam means forest of trees. My Swedish name also has to do with trees.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that the comments for the SOUNDSCAPE and the SMELLSCAPE, which we will observe, are really different. In the SMELLSCAPE, the first concern is about health, like the health in the real listening. The SOUNDSCAPE is not present on the stage. We complain about the noise, how it affects the experience, the expectation of being in a solid auditory environment. Instead, for SMELLSCAPE, they directly go to might be back for health and so on.
That's a very good point, and we have done a more formal analysis, content analysis of the whole mass of the interviews, which is some 50,000 words, with only a few examples in here. There's absolutely also reflections around how sound may create annoyance, might not be good for you, but people in general, they are much more specific when we talk about how the joysticks might be good for your respiration. They don't seem to have a clear idea in what way sound or noise levels might be infringing on your health.
Other questions to Mr. Lindborg?
Mine is also another question, is more like a comment. I personally was also once in one night thing, just visiting for while I was living there, and so I recall a lot from like your interviews what we were talking about, and how the SOUNDSCAPE and SMELLSCAPE really do have an impact on how people perceive it. I wanted to also mention this, that I think it's very important that you are mentioning who the people who you interviewed are, because it really shows to see how much the context both of the city itself, how it is right now, how it's changing,